On the Wado Radio Show.
Yes, it's DJ Wado. It's the Wado Radio Show. It's more than music. It's ministry. And it's always a pleasure to talk to this brother, man. He's from the West Coast. He's a sports writer, but he's also a youth pastor. He's also involved in the music industry. He's also a husband. He may have some other stuff up his sleeve that I'm not aware of, man, but he's a great dude, man. Marcus Thompson. And he's also the author of a new book called Golden, which talks about the miraculous rise of Steph Curry. What's up, my brother?
So yeah, I also sell like bean pies out the trunk. I make chicken. You know what I'm saying? You know, I do hair.
Hey, and I didn't
That's
even
what we do in Oakland. We hustle.
Y'all hustle out there, and it's crazy. I didn't even mention your day job as a columnist with the San Jose Mercury News, man. I didn't even mention that with all the stuff you got going on, bro.
Right. You know, I just write, and you know, I work with youth. You can boil it down like that. I'm a writer who works with youth.
Hey, that's it, man. Look, bro. I mean, this is so crazy, just the timing of this, bro. But what did you think of all this stuff with ESPN and these layoffs earlier this week, bro?
Man, dude, some of my homies straight took a L.
Yeah,
it's real disconcerting. You know, as the sports journalism industry, just journalism in general. You know, been like, you know, on the watch list for a while, right? And you know, I've really made a point to just say I'm not even gonna pay attention. Whatever happens, happen. So for years, I'm just like, I don't want to hear about layout. Look, when the pink slip is at my locker, that's when I know. And I'm just leaning on faith on that one.
Yeah.
But to see like my colleagues just straight take an L, like it was hard to ignore. You know, some of these people are just great. I've worked with them for years, you know, and to see them take an L, it was like the Red Wedding yesterday.
Yeah.
In the Game of Thrones, right? It was just like all these names, like when you expected the stars to stick around, but everybody was getting lit, and I just feel bad for them because, you know, like what's next? You know, that's a lot. That the market is now flooded, right?
Yeah.
So, like what happens now? So I'm really like I'm really thinking about them and praying for them and hoping that this all works out for them and they end up better because of it. But wow,
yeah,
that was crazy.
I mean, obviously for me, man, just as someone who just enjoys sports, you see with newspapers and stuff, like some of that kind of stuff happening, but you always just in the back of your mind think, man, ESPN is immune to this. Like, they the worldwide leader. Like, they got 8 ESPN channels. Like, they got ESPNs you don't even watch that come with your package. You know what I mean? And so you never really think something like this would happen. And then, I mean, bro, like, you know, you seeing Ed Warder and Jay Crawford. Like, these are like big names, man, that they let go, bro. Like, what have been some of the reaction to some of the other, you know, people in the sports industry when they're seeing this, man?
It's just shock. It's just, you question, like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, some other big names are coming too. Like, it ain't over.
Wow.
You know, there's some other names, you know, who got a lot of money left on their contract and it's got to be worked out. So, like, some stuff is still coming, but you just wonder, what is this about? Like, that's what I think. You know, I've talked to some people. It's like a lot of people who are taking L's are the people who probably care most about the craft.
Yeah.
And put them that much into the craft. So you got to start wondering, like, what is the craft actually valuing these days? What is the industry value? And where do you fit in that? This is kind of something that I've experienced throughout my career, trying to figure out, do I want to align with what is current or, you know, or not, right? And you can ascend if you basically get in with the current, right? You can ascend, or you can like stick to the time-honored tradition of the craft and honor the stuff that you learned in J school and why you got into it. And it feels like the more you do the latter, the more you fallen by the wayside. But like if you down to make that shift and get a little bit more, I guess, shock jockey or more entertainment based instead of like investigative and informative. If you take that lane, to you probably gonna take off. But in the end, if we don't do the good work, what are they gonna talk about on First Take?
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
you kind of need both. It was just weird to see ESPN kind of take this public stance of let's get rid of the true journalists and let's keep the personalities.
Yeah, that was a little shocking to me, and I think, man, like, you know, it feels like, and I see this in a lot of spaces, right? I see this in obviously what happened with ESPN, but I also see it in the church. I see it in Christian rap. I see it in media, period. Millennials are consuming content and connecting with brands, ministries, companies in a different way than all other generations. Generation X, baby boomers, all of that stuff. They're connecting totally differently. And I'm feeling like everybody is having to adjust to how millennials consume content. So it's like streaming music is big. They don't buy records. They stream it. They get an app subscription for $10 a month, listen to whatever they want. They don't turn on the radio as much. They rather listen to a podcast. They, you know what I mean? So they're not reading a 1,200 word. You know, for us, we're radio. We're rethinking album reviews. Like, are they reading 1,200 word album reviews? Not really. So how can we still review the album with, you know what I mean? So that's, I mean, it's just crazy to see that with ESPN, bro.
I know, right? And you would think ESPN is the one who has that figured out.
Nah. Clearly they don't.
So, right? You know, but also, man, I mean, the reality is, like, that's part of industry too.
Yeah.
You know, that's part of how business works and how industry works. I've been blessed that I've been with the same company since I graduated college. So
wow.
You know, layoffs and all that stuff I've been passed over, right?
Wow, bro, I didn't realize that.
He hideth my career in the cleft of the rock.
Wow.
But yeah, I've never felt that, you know. So, but I do know, like, that's how it is.
Yeah.
And you got to change with it. Like, I had to, like, just from when I started, it's just different now. Like Twitter, podcasts, blogs, video, all that.
Oh, and you kill all of that though. But you're killing that space though.
I mean, you gotta kind of like go with the current. That's what I'm saying. And a lot of people are just really good, like you said, at a craft and at a process that the people who we're trying to reach, they just don't feel that no more. And that's a tough reality to grasp. Yeah. At the same time, some of them, the layoffs were just surprising. Like Ethan Strauss. Like, he's a millennial.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
To let him go during the playoffs, that was
crazy.
Like,
that was crazy. Yeah.
I don't understand that. But hey, you know what? I ain't behind the scenes at ESPN. I don't know. They probably have a great reason. So, or maybe not. Who knows?
Yeah. Can't call it, man. Listen, speaking of great reasons, man, there's a lot of great reasons for everybody to pick up this book you just put out on the miraculous rise of Steph Curry. It's called Golden, man. First, before we even dive into the book, I just want to know what made you write it. I mean, obviously, you've been covering the team. You've been around the team. You got the podcast with Draymond Green. Like, you know, a lot of great stuff with the team. But what made you at this time say, you know what, I need to write this book?
It was like 1 a.m. just alone in meditation and prayer and thinking about this, right? And I said, Lord, send me a vision. And next thing you know, let me tell you what really happened. An agent called me, was like, hey, man, I got some publishers who want a Steph Curry book, and we think you'd want to write it.
Wow.
I was like, are you paying? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, let's do it. That's why it happened now, because somebody has some bread.
Oh, man.
I mean, look, it's a worthwhile story. And at the time, when they approached me, the Warriors were like 17-0, ready for that 22, on that 22-0 start they had, or 24-0.
Wow!
Like
so
that.
This was last year,
this was last year when they approached me about it, and it was like they had just come off a championship, and now they were on this incredible run. Steph was ridiculous, and so I'm like cranking out stories and doing blogs and all this, and it's just going crazy. So when he came with the book, I'm like, dude, you tripping. Who got time to write a book right now? And then he started talking money, and I was like, all things
I got
are possible.
time to write a book.
Yeah, right. I can do all things. I have been abased. It's time for me to abound.
Hilarious. Hilarious, bro. Well, I mean, listen, man, this is a big deal, man. Simon and Schuster, you know what I mean? Or Schuster. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. They probably won't
Simon
ever
and
give
Schuster,
me they won't ever give me a book deal, but
that's funny.
But when I was reading this, bro, there was a few things. One, as much as Steph Curry's been covered, and even as much as even you personally have written about him, there was a ton of stuff in this book that I had no clue about, including the first chapter with him and this mean streak that he has. You didn't call it a mean streak, but that's kind of how it feels when people doubt him. This dude turns it up to a whole different level, man. You called him the babyface assassin.
I mean, look, I've seen this stuff for a while behind the scenes, right? And, like, I remember back in the day, so, like, I don't even know if people remember this, but there was a time, long time ago, when the Clippers owned the Warriors, right? And Chris Paul there would be a point in the game where Chris Paul would just be like, all right, Steph, you're done here, right? And he would, you know how Chris Paul do, he would start getting super aggressive and physical and just kind of like Debo and Steph.
Sure.
And it's a lot of fouling. Chris Paul probably gets away with more fouls than anybody in the NBA.
Oh yeah.
But as it was real physical. It was a lot of fouling, and of course, if you're a Warriors fan, everybody's like, Steph gets no love from the refs. He's fouling, and he's grabbing, and he's holding. And I would ask him about it, and Steph's mindset was like, I got to fight through it, bring it, right? And it always struck me as like, this dude is kind of gangsta on the low. It's just like some of hey, Steph, they said this about you. And publicly, he'd say, I don't pay attention to that. I just try to do my job. And privately, he's like, all right, if that's how you want to play it. So it was revelatory to kind of bring out this component of him where, I mean, he's such a nice dude. He's such a humble guy. But, man, people don't understand. He's like Kobe, right? He's got that killer instinct. It just looks different. So I remember I used to talk to Mark Jackson about this because Mark Jackson, I used to ask him, like, man, what would y'all do if y'all played Steph in your day? Because, Steph he have 20 and he hit the step back threes on you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, some of the stuff is like a violation of the code. Like, you get fired on in the hood. And I'm like, Mark Jackson, what would you? And he's like, oh, no, we would. We ain't let him dance on us. Like, he would have been got knocked down. But Steph is like, this is what y'all want to do, right? Wow. This is his mindset. I'm going to show you. And, like, he really is a dichotomy in that way because he's such a nice guy. Like, he's generally a good dude, grounded and down to earth. But when he's on the court, he is trying to kill you. All them highlights, step backs, 30-footers, he's trying to let you know I'm better than you, or at least just as good as you. You better start respecting me.
I've heard that was a part of what he was trying to do with Chris Paul when he put that move on him on the baseline, and you kind of touched on that in the book as well. Like, that was this was my way of showing everybody I've surpassed you now since you used to own me, back when we first broke into the league.
And that's why he made the shot. None of that, like, I remember talking to him about this. I was like, what if you miss a shot? He was like, that was the most pressure shot ever.
Wow.
There's no way I'm missing that shot. Like, that's how he makes that shot. He makes the shot. It becomes the viral highlight. It is. He missed the shot. It's like, almost. But he had to make that shot because that play signified the changing of the guard right there.
Wow.
And it was tipped off by the State Farm commercial. Remember when Chris Paul was going down the escalator and Steph Curry was going up?
Oh
We used to joke.
yeah.
Yeah, we used to joke about that. Like, if you were in the Warriors world, you like, man, Warriors coming for you. Warriors coming
Mm,
for you. And then you see that commercial, you're like, why would Chris Paul do that?
interesting.
Why would he approve that? Because the imagery,
Yeah.
it was prophetic, and that moment where he dropped him and turned him into a meme that was the moment where Steph said, all right, I'm gonna need that crown, player.
Wow. Crazy. And so this was the thing that stuck out to me, right? When I every time I get a book, first thing I do, you look at the table of contents, at least for me, right? So I looked at the table of contents and I'm seeing babyface assassin, and I'm like, Steph is the meek Christian guy. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
I'm like, Steph is the meek Christian guy. So to hear, and to read like this, this story of really how he's always been doubted, and this is kind of that streak comes out, man, was just like, it was eye opening, bro.
And that's why he's got to have it. It's like
Yeah.
it's a survival mechanism. It's what it is. It's Napoleon complex. Like, because he's smaller and he's in a league of giants, like, it has to be overwhelming. He's not going to get the Kawhi where he just, I'm going to just go play and I'm going to be really good and people will recognize how great I am. I don't have to say anything. I don't have to put on any antics. Like, that's how you would expect Steph to be based on his demeanor or based on his, his whole public image. You would expect him to be like a Kawhi. But he's 6'3" and nobody believes in him, right? Nobody believes he's tough like that or he's cut like that. So he has to make victory overwhelming for you to, for you to recognize it. It has to be dominating to even be in the conversation. Otherwise, you know what? Otherwise, he's Mike Conley. Wow. And everybody thinks he's good and he's an all-star and he's respected, but you're not thinking, you're not putting him in a conversation with LeBron.
Do you think there's and he seems like the type that he would never just come out and say this, but do you think there's a fuel for him to say, yo, I want to be the face of the league? Like, I want that crown, I want that title, I want that, whatever comes with that.
To be honest, I think he's torn about it. To be honest, first off, I don't think that ever crossed his mind until it became possible.
Wow. Okay.
Right? I think it was like, oh, I'm here, right? Yeah. Well, all right. I think that's kind of how it went down. But I think so part of him looks at all of this as like his ministry. He says it all the time. Like, all of this is his ministry.
Wow. And
obviously, the bigger the platform, the more he can reach people. He's been saying this since his rookie year, and I believe that's still his purpose. So part of him is like, yeah, the bigger I get, the wider my reach is, the greater it is for me to be able to show, my faith, and to show like how to operate, and to show that kind of peculiarity about how he exists. So, but the other part of that is, I think, he doesn't want to be set apart from his peers. Like, he doesn't want it to be played like I'm better than these, like, as people. So I think he's torn with that, because he really looks at the fellow players, especially that star group, as peers. Like, he really wants to be part of that fraternity. And the bigger he gets, the more it seems like he's not in that fraternity. So I think he would like to be. I think he would just like to be next to, like, with LeBron and Kobe. Yeah. And in that mix, like, hey, when you mention them, mention Steph. Yeah. I think that's like the best of both worlds, because he's still in that mix, but then he's also like, that's elite, that's rare air right there, sure. Right? So sure. Being the face for him comes with a whole lot of pressure and a whole lot of like almost like hatred that I think he'd rather not have to deal with.
Sure. And this is probably I mean, I know this got a lot of attention on sports talk shows. You know, I saw Undisputed did a segment. I think First Take did a segment on this. But it was chapter 8 in the book, and it's basically Steph gets a lot of hate from former players, you know, guys like Oscar Robertson and Tracy McGrady had some comments, but also seems to be a tension even with some of the current players, the LeBrons, the Chris Pauls, guys like that. And so it was a little surprising because Steph seems like this nice guy, but I remember at the All-Star game, I started to kind of see it even just watching the game on TV. Like, he almost felt like he was an outsider to an extent. You know what I mean? And one, just just some of your general thoughts on this. But two, what do you think he has to quote unquote do to kind of get that acceptance from all of those players, past and present?
Well, for the latter one, I just think he has to show some longevity. I think part of it was just like he came out of nowhere.
It happened so quick.
Speaking.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, people like us, we watch hoop, right? Like we into this, so we've been knowing about Steph Curry, right?
Yeah.
But they're at a level now where it's past us, right? Like it's past the niche market of league pass watchers, right? And you get out into that mainstream crossover appeal. Now you got people who did not watch him drop 54 at the Garden on some random February day, right?
Yeah.
Like they're there for the big event. So they've heard about LeBron the whole time, right? Since LeBron was 16 and Kobe. So Steph basically just came out of nowhere for a huge chunk of people.
True.
And to get that kind of rarefied air. So I think part of it is he just got to do it for longer. He's got to have the longevity. Even LeBron went through this in many ways. Kobe went through this. You just got to deal with the backlash is coming. You get so high, you're just going to get backlash. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And you got to survive it, kind of get through, show that you can last prolonged, and then you'll get your crown. But I think it is. Here's the part that's interesting to me. Like, Steph doesn't ask for this. I mean, he kind of does in the sense that the reasons people love him so much is because of like social reasons, right? Like a lot of it is because he's clean, like he lives a clean life.
Yeah. Because
he has his image is a family man. Like part of that is him because he puts that out there, like probably more than other people. I think it's less business than it is. This is just my life, so you can see it, right? But so there's this feeling that he's painting himself to be this wholesome guy, but generally speaking, like that's just who he is, and that's why people like him. So because of that, there's like this resentment. Like, so what are you saying? LeBron isn't a good family man? But the adoration has become like it's insane. I mean, people love him. Grandmothers love him. Aunts love him. 9-year-olds across the land love him. You go to other arenas, it's Curry jerseys, right? You know, pick a city. You go into that city to a game, and the Warriors are in town. It's Curry jerseys everywhere, right? And you see a couple Clay jerseys. You know, you might see a Draymond Green, but
hey, look, my son got a Curry jersey, bro.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like kids love them, right? The interesting part to me is that outside of outside of whatever he does to promote this image that gravitate towards people, that he doesn't ask for this. So it's like they're mad at him because of us. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like they don't like him because we prefer him.
Yep.
We're right, you know, and we being the media and fans. So it's just weird that that's how that works. And the NBA, look, there's 450 of them, right? It's only 30 teams, 15 players on the roster. There's 450 NBA players. And even if you extend that to former players, that's still a relatively small chunk. So it's just weird. Like, that they're turning on one of their own, right? It's just, that's the part that's weird. It seems like it could be like, I love Steph, this is my guy, I'm going to go at him, but, hey, you guys are doing too much, right? Right? Or, hey, let me show you that that I'm a family man too, that I'm just as good. But instead, it's like, I don't like him, he doesn't deserve this, he doesn't deserve it. So that part is weird. The other part is, Steph ain't doing nothing but putting money in their pockets.
Right.
Why do you think the salary cap is jumping?
Yeah.
Because salary cap is based on basketball revenue. So however much money the league makes, the salary cap is a percentage of that. Salary cap is jumping because TV deals, right, are exploding. Why are TV deals exploding? Well, part of that is because of the Curry phenomenon, right? Yeah. Part of that is because everybody want to watch this dude. They show his pregame on TV now. They do the hour before. You know how they do the pregame show in like 10 minutes. They didn't extend it that, so they get Curry's pregame in, right? So he's actually helped drive the salary cap up. Like, the Warriors are the highest rated team in the league. The ratings drive the cap up, which drives the money up, which means he's helping pay everybody else, just like LeBron did, just like Kobe did. So it's just weird that they're like, you ain't accepted yet. Like, we ain't vouching for you on that, when really all he's doing is doing what they do, right? Is do what they can to further the game.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. I've felt like, particularly with LeBron, like, you know, when they had their little exchange during the finals last year, when he blocked Steph's shot and said to him something that we can't really repeat on this podcast because it's family programming. but when they had that and there was like that little moment, I felt like there was like a hint of jealousy that maybe LeBron had against Steph, because I think the point you made earlier was so key, bro. Like, so much of this happened so quick for Steph, bro. Like, and not that he hasn't been preparing his whole life for it, but just, it was like, it almost feels like to some people Steph went from averaging 17-7 to being league MVP. Well, actually, he did, but you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, in 2014, when they lost in the first round to the Clippers, like, where was he? He was an all-star, right? He made his first all-star game.
Yep.
Like, that's what he was. He was, you know, he was John Wall.
Yep.
He was on that level.
Yep.
And then the next year, oh, man, this dude is like, we haven't seen this since Michael Jordan. It's like, and everybody's like, whoa, like, hold on, right? And then the following year, it goes insane, right? Now they're chasing the Bulls, and it's Steph Curry, Jordan, Warriors, Bulls, and everybody's like, hold on, right? Like, that's the general sentiment. It really went out. It just came out of nowhere. Because in 2014, in that series, the famous Donald Sterling series, like, Chris Paul was probably the best player in a series, and then all of a sudden, Steph is the best point guard in the league. Yep. Like, if you Russell Westbrook, right?
Yeah.
And your team has, you know, you signed with Brand Jordan, and you got a team of people trying to figure out how to take your career off, right? Like, all right, Westbrook, you're a star. Like, let's get this going. Let's jump this off. And then all of a sudden, all the love going to Steph, like this light-skinned dude in Under Armours. Right. You might be a little. Right. That's why he taking little jabs at Steph, right? And part of it too, Russell Westbrook is just like, he's the same with everybody, right? He's like, remember the Titans. I'm maybe a mean cuss, but I'm a mean cuss to each and every one of them, right? Like, that's kind of Westbrook's disposition, but he definitely takes these little veiled shots at Steph. But I get it. Like, if you had designs on taking over the game, next thing you know, a dude, you on Jordan and a dude on Under Armour is outselling everybody. Like, you might be like, whoa, what happened? And as far as the LeBron thing, here's the part that kind of, like, disappoints me about LeBron. Because I do get LeBron's stance. Like, basically, the rise of Steph Curry is a backdoor way of knocking him off the perch. True. As the best player in the league, True. Right? And he was like, hold on, let me show y'all something, right? Like, y'all forgot about LeBron. So I get that, and he was like, all right, let me let me send a message. Let me take him down so I can show you that I'm still the best player in the game. And I have no problem with that at all. That's exactly what I expect from him. The part that I didn't like is that, like, he turned it into mocking Steph. And I think they're more alike than they are separate.
Yeah.
And I think LeBron, I like LeBron because he is a good dude.
Yep.
That's why I like LeBron. My wife watches LeBron, and I remember when he was with the Heat, and she's not a basketball fan at all, but she started watching, the finals with me or the playoffs with me. And you know what she would say? Like, man, he's such a good sport. She just notices him, like, picking up other players. People foul him, he doesn't respond. And I'm like, yeah, he is. Like, you don't see him getting involved in that stuff. You never see him do what he did to Steph, to anybody.
Right.
So I was like, it feels like it would have been. Personally, I would have preferred the LeBron that I like to kind of embrace the good guy because he's a good guy. Yeah. Instead of becoming the villain to the good guy. LeBron is a dad too, you know. Instead, I would rather him say, "Look, man, I'm a great family man." Right? They both are very alike in how they approach life. They're good businessmen. They stay out of trouble. You don't see them in police blotters, right? Like, well, I'm like LeBron. Like, I figured it would be like when Steph was younger, and you put your arm around Steph. He used to go to Steph games at Davidson. Yeah. Steph was in his camp. That's what I was thinking. Like, LeBron, put that dude on your arm and be too. Like, represent for the good dudes out here. And instead, he turns Steph into his villain and kind of like champion the mockery of the good dude, right? And that part was disappointing because I think LeBron is a good dude.
Maybe they'll become friends after this little rivalry period, like Bird and Magic did.
That'll be a great 30 for 30, right?
That's that. Hey, look. Hey. When they do it, though, they better come holler at you, though.
Yeah, I'm down for that. Like I already told you what motivates me.
Sure. Yeah, they better come holler at you, man. They better come holler at you.
I'm with it. Maybe I should do it before them, though.
Hey,
25 for 25.
25 for 25. Oh my God. Hey, so this is. I think there was one other thing I wanted to talk to you about in this book too. Chapter 3, where it was kind of talking about Steph as a person and him really being, who his image says he is. Behind the scenes, he's that person in real life. And I felt like even though there wasn't a lot of words around it, you know what I mean? Because you really talked a lot about his personality, his wife, how they met, all of that stuff. I could really feel how his faith has influenced his whole life all the way through, from the Christian Montessori school and his parents and all of that stuff, man, and just how important that really is to him, man.
Yeah, that's no question the like undergirding of like who he is and how he operates.
Yeah.
And like because I know Steph, I probably need to say what he would, I probably need to represent his position on it, right? Which is he's not perfect.
Sure.
And he really doesn't like the when people call him perfect or treat him like he doesn't make mistakes or whatever, like he really resents that. So I'm gonna speak for him on his behalf and be like, he's not. It doesn't mean he's perfect. It doesn't mean he handles everything right. And he'll be the first to say it. But when you examine his life, it's hard to take Christ out of it.
Yeah.
And even like chapter 3. The stuff about Aisha and the stuff about his mom like points to that because that's how he is the guy he is. Like if you ask him, how do you do all this stuff? He's going to say his faith, right? If you ask him, why don't you do this stuff? He's going to say his faith. And it was really hard to escape. And I mean, I didn't want to make it a religious book, because you mentioned Jesus too much. You're going to get on a different shelf.
Sure.
But
you on the shelf with Joel Osteen and Joyce Meyer and T.D. Jakes.
Right, yeah. So I didn't want to do the religious book, but you can't talk about Steph and not talk about it.
Sure.
And that's and you can't talk about his mom and not talk about it because his mom is gangsta about it, right? Steph, I remember one time, I don't even think I wrote this in the book. I might have. One time, I was at home watching a game, and you know how like ESPN on their way to the break, they would replay a highlight in slow motion.
Yep.
Like as they go to the break. Well, one of them was a Steph hitting a three, and he was screaming.
And he cursed. You put that in the book,
cursed.
bro. That's in there.
Okay,
that's in there, bro. That's in there.
He cursed, and next thing you know, I was like, "Ooh, Steph, you cursing on TV?" He's like, "Yeah, my mama already called me." Right? He straight got in trouble.
Oh,
but
man.
like that, you can't. It's like Sonya's on it.
Yeah.
And she's always been on it, and I think he really just took to the faith and made it his own. So it's inescapable, which is part of the reason why he is for some of his backlash too. And he got a little lick from the North Carolina bill. I think he's avoided that religious brand, that kind of resentment that like a Tim Tebow gets.
Yep.
Because he doesn't, he's not a quote unquote preaching to people.
Yep.
But he's in that same mode, no question.
Wow. It's this was it's a small point, but I didn't realize it, and it made total sense. Is because his dad had a 16-year NBA career. His mom raised him most of the time because his dad's traveling so much with the NBA schedule and all of that. And then you kind of see, like the story, like you just shared, the impact that she's had over his whole life because of that.
That's crazy you say that because I felt the same way. Like, I almost feel stupid for thinking this way, right?
Yeah.
Like, duh, of course his mom was central to his life.
Yep.
But I was ready to write the heartwarming father-son chapter,
Sure.
right? Because they're so linked. It's Dale and Steph, son of an NBA. Like, it would just make sense that it was going to be like a Christian version of He Got Game, right?
Yeah,
but
Christian version.
But man, I need you to go to a big state, son. But like a lot of who Steph is just really points back to his mom, right?
Sure.
And he really does have. He really is an example of the benefit of two parents, right?
Yeah.
Which many of us don't have.
Yep.
But when you look at it, he really does have the benefit of two parents because his dad retired right at about the time he was becoming a young man, hitting adolescence, right? So he had his dad in his life at a key time, especially when he decided to say, "I'm gonna play hoop." But his father was like integral in those early years when he was losing a lot, and the Warriors were a terrible franchise, and Monte Ellis didn't want to play next to him, and Steven Jackson demanding a trade, and T.I. blasting in the locker room. Like it was just like a mess. But his dad like taught him how to stay professional and do what he's supposed to do. Like his dad helped him get through those years and not go upstairs into the lobby and into the main office and like, man, I need to get out of here. Yeah. Or Marcus, I need you to write this trade demand story. So his dad was like real critical to him making this transition and learn and sticking with it, especially like when he was going through his ankle injuries and stuff. But a lot points to his mom, and not just because, she raised him and he loves her, but his like athleticism. I know he doesn't have much, but he's really athletic in a certain way. And it's in the same way his mom was, like really quick and wiry, stronger than anything. She was like a star volleyball player. Like that's him. When I was talking to her volleyball coach, like, and he was describing her, I'm like, that sounds just like Steph.
Wow.
And then a lot of his personality comes from her, right? Like the stuff that makes people really like him, a lot of that comes from her. His teammates love him because he's like a jokester and he's humble and like that's his mom. And plus, like if you're gonna give the overarching credit to his faith, then you got to give the overarching credit to his mom because she was the one, like making sure Deuteronomy 6 was in them, right?
Wow.
So that it's really a trip how that gets lost because she's really pretty. So you see her on TV, and that's all people talk about is how pretty she is.
Sure,
but she really is like one of those like mom of the year type figures, right? she is one of those. She got 3 kids, and when you talk, you can tell how people you can tell a lot about a parent by how their kids talk about them,
right?
And they all they rave about her. Even like Seidel, Steph's sister, who clashed with her mom like every other teenage daughter does. But man, now you hear her talk about her mom, and they revere her in a way that lets you know she was a great mom. Yeah,
that's dope. That's really dope,
right?
What does Steph think about LeVar Ball, bro? I remember he made those comments about how, of course, Steph would be good because his dad was just an average basketball player or something like that. And I was just like, yo, if you're Steph or Dale Curry, you might feel some type of way about that, about these comments. Or him saying his son was better than Steph, that kind of stuff, bro.
I think Steph is so used to this stuff that he's like, whatever.
It just roll off the shoulder. I got you.
Yeah, when I asked him about it, he gave me a look like, man, why you ask me about this dude? Nobody care about that, right? Part of it is too, when you blow a 3-1 lead, you ain't got time for these.
Sure.
He ain't got time for this stuff. He's trying to save his family name.
Yeah.
So I think he's get in line, get in line. And when you read the book, you see how this is not new for him. People looking at him or figuring out a way to say, man, he ain't all that. It's been going on since he was in 8th grade. So he's just get in line. Who's next to say I'm not worth it? Who's next to say I don't deserve this? Get in line, and I'll go down the line and show you that I am.
Yeah, I should have said this at the beginning, bro, but one of the things that I really appreciated about the book is that it wasn't necessarily a chronological biography. It was these are the different elements that make up Steph, and this is how they've kind of influenced how he is, and this is how and why he's developed into that. Each of the chapters, kind of being just different parts of him, man. And I really, honestly, I never thought about or had never, and it's not like I'm this big book connoisseur, but I never read a book structured like that, bro. And I really appreciated it because it's that's how we think about people. We don't think about somebody in it's their life. I mean, when you read about somebody in George Washington in school, that's how they teach you to do it. But when you think of when I think about Marcus Thompson, I think about the different elements of you that I know about you. And then sometimes I may think of, well, I wonder why he's like that. And I felt like that's what this book answered, bro.
Well, part of it was because I had such a short deadline, which was just ungodly. I had 6 months to do the book.
Wow.
Which is, but it was during the playoffs, so I was doing it while I was writing columns and doing podcasts and all that. So I had to come with something that I could actually pull off.
Yeah.
Right. And on the chronological tip, it felt like, number one, it felt like it would have required more time because I would have had to go back and dig into 6th grade Steph and go back and just for the details alone. But mostly also, I feel like a lot of people know parts of the story. So I didn't want to have a chapter that relived the tournament run, right? It just felt like some of the stuff people know, and I didn't want to relive it outside of and not give anything new.
Yep.
So what I wanted to answer in the book was how, how did this happen?
Yep.
And I broke out 10 ways that I thought it happened. The crazy part is, this is what people will never know unless they listen to this now. But the original plan was the book was about Steph Curry and the magical season, right? And it was going to be chronological from championship to championship, right? That was the plan.
But then they didn't win.
And then Kyrie started hating, right? So because Kyrie is a hater, I had to basically restructure the book and start over. So from June, then they gave me an extra month. So from June to August, I lost like 30,000 words and had to like rewrite. But I think that was for the best because I do think it's better.
Yeah.
Like if we were following the season, it would have made sense. But I really wanted to answer like, how did this happen? Because even us basketball fans are like, man, Steph is a beast. Like I remember this dude when he was a rookie. You know.
Yeah.
It just wasn't like it doesn't happen like this.
Yeah.
Like you get to this level, when you get to this level, we saw you coming. We saw you in high school.
You know what this was like, bro? I'm gonna tell you the foreshadowing of this was Lynn's sanity. It's just Jeremy Lin wasn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like 2 months, and it's like
it was out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. I mean, bro, like he couldn't even. Like, wasn't he on the Warriors for a minute?
Yeah, he was Steph's backup. He used to hate it because you know he's from the Bay, and the Bay has a really large Asian community.
Yeah,
so it would be like the end of the game, the Warriors getting smashed, and they would start cheering for him like he was the special kid or something. He hated it. They would be called like he would get in the game and they would go crazy. He would like make a shot, and it would be like they won the finals, and he thought it was so embarrassing.
Oh man!
Like, but he was like the special kid on the end of the bench. Like, let him play, coach. Right? That's what he was. And then he got cut.
Wow. Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't quite that dramatic, but I mean, listen, man, like Steph's got us, and I'll say this too, bro. One thing I am happy about is kids want to shoot now. Like I coached youth basketball last year. Like I coached my oldest son and his team, and it's like all these kids, like they want to shoot threes, and I'm like, yo, y'all not ready to shoot threes? Just move in a little bit. But I'm happy that they want to learn how to shoot, man. Because when we came up, bro, we was just trying to cross you up and
and then throw the ball in the crowd. Like forget the shooting part. Hot sauce on them.
Exactly, bro. We try to hit you with that 2-piece and a biscuit, throw the ball in the crowd. That's
you know what? Like what I really appreciate, what I'm happy about with this book is that I just don't think we write enough or tell enough stories about good people.
Sure.
And one of the things I heard constantly, like when word got out about the book, is, will a Steph book sell? Like, because there's no there's no where's the drama?
Wow.
Where's the you gotta have, typically you want some kind of juice or salaciousness. Like George Carl put out a book and he ripping Carmelo for not having a dad.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy.
Normally when these books come out, there's got to be something, there's got to be some bite. And, Steph's life is just, it just doesn't have it. And maybe he's an expert at hiding it because I sure was looking. But, it's just like it's not there. And that, for many people, makes you say, well, I don't want to read it then. But I think I'm just happy that there's a book about somebody who's good, somebody who at least tries to be good, somebody who lives by trying to do the right thing. And that's a story that people want to hear. And for me, that's rewarding because, you can write the Dennis Rodman book, you know what you're going to get, right? And it's like, oh, I can't wait to read this.
Yeah.
Gossip and drama and mess. But I'm glad there's a book that highlights a great mom and a book that highlights a guy who, really adores his wife and exalts her.
Yeah.
And a guy who's been grounded. Like, for me, that, and it's not by Zondervan, right?
Yep.
It's not like only in Lifeway. For me, that's the rewarding part, that I could give my daughter a book and say, hey, here you go.
Yeah.
That I'm glad that I was the one to do that.
Well, and I was going to say, I'm happy it was you too, bro. Like, just as your homie, because I remember when you were first telling me about this process and you getting the deal, I was just like, man, this was even before you had started the podcast. And I was just like, man, this is humongous. Like, this is such a huge look, like, to be able to write this. And then when I saw you earlier this year, you was like, yo, it's coming out like right before the playoffs. I'm like, yo, man, like, this is like massive. You know what I mean? So, man, salute to you for for being in the right space at the right time and being prepared to execute this, man.
I appreciate that. That's all by divine intervention, because I ain't nobody.
Hey, but look, man, God take nobodies and make them somebodies, bruh.
Right?
You know?
Now I just need you to go ahead and buy 5,000 copies so I can have that somebody money. You need to get this nobody some somebody money.
Hey, but hold up though. I was on Amazon the other day getting ready to write my review, and I'm like, yo, this joint is like sold out over here.
That's crazy, right?
Bruh.
I was like, somebody hit me, was like, dude, the book is out of stock. Can I buy one from you? And I'm like, when just go on Amazon. He's like, I'm talking about Amazon. I was like, what? I straight started dancing.
Hey,
sold out on Amazon.
And let me say this though too. I noticed this. I don't know if you noticed this, bruh. Your joint was ranked a little higher than Brian Windhorst's LeBron book that just came out.
Oh man, chill.
I'm just saying.
See.
I'm just saying.
This means war. My homie Chase Serrano is already doing beef with me because he got a basketball book coming out. So he's doing beef with me on Twitter. Like, people tweet him pictures of my book, and he's like, I'm at war with all other basketball books. But Brian Windhorst was on the beat when I was on the beat, so we kind of came up together. And
sure.
We both used to cover terrible teams. So I'm proud of them. You know, they put out a book. It's a good book. I'm happy for them, especially since like basketball is just in the forefront. You know, think about like.
Well, Brian Windhorst is like, he's like the foremost authority on all things LeBron James, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
no question.
That dude he's paid a lot of dues and put in a lot of work, man. You know what I mean? So, but I was just saying that just because, I mean, listen, man, you know.
You're going to have Cleveland fans coming at me. Man, dude, now they gonna buy all these Return of the King books so I can.
and you know I got a strong Ohio contingent that listens to this show, man. You know that,
right? I know you do. Yeah. I know you do.
Yeah, they gonna be mad at me. They gonna be mad at me that I brought it up, bro. They ain't gonna be mad at you. They gonna be mad at me. You know?
long as they buy some copies of Golden, we straight.
That's it,
just
man.
Buy some copies of Golden.
That's it.
Support the homie.
Hey, so what's the next book, man? You working on the next book?
Man, you sound like the agent. I almost fired on that dude. He lucky I pray. It's like I'm like, we on a book tour. I'm on all these interviews, right? And he's like, yeah, we got to talk about your next book. I'm like, I got 2 hours of sleep, man. I'm sitting here like, how could you even put that on my brain right now? Yeah, he talking about the next book. I don't know, man. I tell you one thing. I'm not doing a book in 6 months ever again.
Wow.
That ain't happening.
Wow.
So whatever it is, I'm gonna be able to put my feet up and take my time with it. You know, walk through it. You know what I'm saying? Have you read it and give me some feedback before it's out. You know what I'm saying? I ain't doing another rest job. That was crazy. I had to neglect my family.
Yeah.
Like, I spent more time in Starbucks than I did at home.
Wow.
Because them jokers, my wife and daughter, they don't understand. Daddy's writing. Right? They don't understand. Oh, I'm writing. Can you leave me alone? Like, they're like, oh, okay, we'll leave you alone 2 minutes later. Can you open this?
Hey, she'll understand in a few years when that college fund is fully funded.
Right. So I was at Starbucks, man. I was like, I'm gonna leave y'all alone. I'm going to Starbucks. So I was at my friendly neighborhood Starbucks. I straight went in. They straight had my grande triple soy latte ready for me. They knew I was coming every day.
Man.
Yeah, but I can't. So the next one, you know, it's gonna take some time. It's gonna take some reflection and prayer and some opportunities. You know, somebody's gonna have to go ahead and let me in their life.
But hold on for a minute, though, bro. I want you to think about this. All this stuff that you're around right now, covering all this stuff. You got the Warriors. You got Oakland getting ready to move to Las Vegas.
Haters.
Obviously, you had the whole season with Kaepernick and all of that stuff out there, man. Like, bro, you so blessed to be covering all of this right now, man. Seriously.
Oh yeah, it's lit. It's no question, it's lit. Which is, you know, part of why I won't be doing that book in 6 months again, because all that was happening while I was writing the book, right? Doing that, and then at night writing the book. But it's crazy, like how the Bay just turns out to be the epicenter of stuff.
It's the epicenter of sports right now, bro.
Yeah, it's really them Bumgardner like is dirt bike riding a tear of a shoulder. It's always something happening here.
Yeah.
Which is good because the story just came out saying if you make $100,000 in the Bay, you low income.
Wow.
So we need some stuff to be happening. I need some more stuff. Just because it's also crazy. It's also crazy expensive out here, which means I'm trying to figure out why you ain't out here. You got all the money.
Nah, man. Listen, bro. Listen. If that puts you in lower class, and I'm definitely lower class, dog.
He said, "Yeah,
that's why I ain't out there."
Hey, you really thought you really think you're doing something if you get the six figures out here, and then they straight find out like, "Oh man, you living check to check."
Yeah, that's
you
crazy.
Low income. Like that's heckin' shady. Something wrong with that. The Lord gonna have to do something with them.
Man, bro, craziness, man. Well, Marcus, man, I truly appreciate you, man. It's always fun doing these, man, and just chatting with you, bro. And once again, his book is called Golden: The Miraculous Rise of Steph Curry. It's amazing. It's a fascinating read. I pretty much read this book in like 2 days. That's how good it is.
I thought somebody hijacked it from you first.
Well, my son tried. He tried, but he's getting ready to get it now. But he tried. He attempted.
Hold on. Your son tried to read the book, and you took it from him so you can read it?
Well, okay.
You're depriving him of a reading opportunity?
No. Hold on a minute. Do we
need to repent right now?
No. Hold on a minute. Well, okay. When it came in the mail, I pulled it out. He assumed it was for him because it says Steph Curry on it. He assumes anything that comes in this house that says Steph Curry is automatically for him. So he assumed it was for him. I said, no. I said, Daddy's getting ready to read this because I am, one, interested in this, but two, I'm also interviewing the guy that wrote this book. So I said, as soon as I'm finished, it's all yours. Now, I also want to say this. There is another kid's book on Steph Curry that he's actually in the middle of reading right now. So I'm not depriving him. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a kid's book. It's a kid's book. He loves Steph, bro. Like, it ain't just the jerseys and, like, he loves Steph, bro.
So it's your fault why they don't like Steph. See, you the problem.
Nah, man, bro. I just, So he's getting this though. He's getting this. This is all him, man. This is all.
Man, I need to go on and send him a signed copy. That's what I need to do.
That would bless him, man. And it's okay. So let me put this out there. His birthday is May 21st. So you
trying to put me on the clock?
I'm just saying you would really bless my son.
Man, you put me on the clock. All right.
Hey, look, I might as well even go for this. It would really bless him if Steph signed it, though.
Man, Steph ain't signing my book. I told him he could sign my book if he let me sign one of his MVPs.
Oh, hilarious. Hilarious.
That's funny. I'm trying to get him to sign my book. Like, sign a copy for me.
Sign a copy for me.
He in playoff. I told you he's trying to save his family name.
Oh, bruh. I'm sure he's focused right now. And listen, after what they did to the Blazers in Game 4, bruh.
That was crazy. I felt bad for Dame Lillard. Like, he was out there by himself. It was 105.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah, they about that life right now.
It was bad, bro. It was bad, man. Well, Marcus Thompson, a.k.a. Thompson Scribe on all the social networks, man. This is good stuff, man. And Wado Radio family, please support my brother, man. He obviously he's a good dude. You done listen to him for the last hour, but this book is amazing. And not even just saying that, but it's a great book.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate you always.
You know what it is, bro.
Wait till my album come out. I'm going to be back.
On the Wado Radio Show. On the Wado Radio. On the Wado Radio Show. Where it's much more than music, it's ministry.